precious snowflake. Oh man, what's up guys? It's my Nicolas Cage impression from the movie Mandy, which I'm going to talk about right now. It's Rob from Movie Review Time, back with a brand new video, and yes, I'm going to talk about Mandy, a movie that I became interested in from other people reviewing it, and the high scores and high praise it's getting right now. I did see the trailer, you know, when it was first released, and I mean, I thought it looked interesting. I wasn't like jumping for joy. I wasn't like, oh my god, I have to go see that. You know, Nicolas Cage is kind of hit or miss for me. My favorite Nicolas Cage movie, hands down, is National Treasure. And I mean, I loved him in The Rock and Face Off and among many others. But National Treasure, I just love that movie. I'm gonna steal the Declaration of Independence. Saw him in Mom and Dad, and I thought he was fine in that movie. I didn't really care for the movie as a whole. But seeing him in this movie, he looks like a badass. I mean, with the beard, he actually reminds me of Chris Evans and Captain, you know, from Infinity War, playing as Captain America. That's what he reminds me of. But it looks like he's playing a badass in this movie when I saw the trailer. So I saw the movie last night, and I have to say, I'm just being honest. This is not going to be a rant, okay? I'm not going to bash this film, because there are a lot of things I enjoyed, but there are a lot of things that I didn't like, and I'm going to address both. But after seeing it last night, I kind of feel like this movie is a little bit overrated. Just being honest, I really don't get why there's such a high praise. People are comparing it to like Blade Runner 2049, and I mean, that's kind of dumb to compare to Blade Runner. I mean, Blade Runner has some visually great, you know, scenes and effects and all that, but the characters are a lot different. Plus, Blade Runner 2049 is not a horror film. This one's considered a psychedelic action horror film. So you got a lot of genres inside this this film. You got a lot of gore, blood, you know, action, and you know, weapons and trippy scenes. So you know, it's also a slow burn film, which I felt Blade Runner 2049 was. But if you're going to do a slow burn film, you know, do it well. I felt like this movie, it didn't really grab my attention until the middle. And I've heard people say this, like right when this movie starts, there are some people who actually fell asleep. I was actually one of them who started to, until Nicolas Cage started being a badass. Then I started to get interested. But you know, most people say, well, you're just not into slow burn, or you're just not into story. I am into story, but that's the problem with this movie, in my opinion, in the first act, and I'll get to that. But yeah, it's a psychedelic action horror film directed by Panos Cosmatos, who is the son of George Cosmatos, who did some of my favorite films. Cobra, one of my favorite Stallone films, definitely my top 10. Rambo First Blood Part 2. I love that. That's a great sequel. Leviathan. Love that film. Tombstone. Great Western. You know, he did some good stuff. So it's really cool to see, you know, his son doing some things. But you have Nicolas Cage in this movie. You have Richard Brake, Bill Duke, Andrea how you say it? Riseborough, I don't know how you say that. Among many others. I'm terrible at pronouncing names. I don't know what's wrong with me. But it's gotten praise for its direction and its style, its originality, Nicolas Cage's performance, and you know, his performance was very good. And I really like the music to this movie, which is another thing that Blade Runner 2049 had going for it, was the music. The music was fantastic. And the music in this, it had that kind of like 80s, 90s vibe to it. And a lot of people say that this film kind of reminds them of a Tarantino flick because of the style that it was going, you know, like with the visuals, the way it looks. And I agree. I also think it kind of reminds me of a Robert Rodriguez film as well. But you could say there's a lot of, I want to say, styles that go into this movie. One of the producers of this movie was Elijah Wood, and I guess you can hear him in the special features, which is interesting. A very trippy movie. Let me just say, like, I came out of this being like, what the hell did I just watch? I understood most of it. I understood a lot what they were trying to do. I just think it's a little overrated. I wouldn't praise this movie. I definitely, you know, some people are actually calling this one of their favorite films of this year. I mean, I don't know. I think it was good. I don't think this movie was great. There were a lot of cool things. But like I said, there's a lot of things I didn't like. Let's get on with the actual story. So you're in this place called the Shadow Mountains. Okay, the year is 1983. Nicolas Cage plays Red, who lives with his girlfriend Mandy, which is the title of the film. They live in a cabin near the lake. He's a logger, and Mandy has a day job as a cashier at a gas station. She likes to create fantasy art. They like talking about it. He admires her work. They live kind of a quiet life. Like you can see in the beginning, it's really slow. It's really slow. And a lot of people would say that that's a good excuse to build up the characters. Well, I kind of felt that that's what was missing. I didn't feel like they fleshed out the character Mandy at all. There's a part where something really bad happens to her, and I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel like, you know, Red, I mean, when this thing was happening to her, you know, these people tie Red up and Red's watching her suffer. I felt for him, but I didn't feel anything for her. I don't feel like they did enough with Mandy. I didn't feel like they fleshed her character out. A lot of the stuff she was saying half the time I couldn't even understand. Like, you know, it was kind of like she had like this faint voice you just didn't understand sometimes, or you couldn't hear what she was saying. But the thing is, I didn't feel anything, is what I mean. Like, I think they could have done more with her character before something bad happens to her. But they lead a quiet life, and they have a difficult past. They had a difficult past, at least. They had conversations, you know, like Red is an alcoholic, or like he's recovering from alcoholism, and you can tell during the film, like he goes back to it because of what happens to her. But then, you know, Mandy has had traumatic childhood experiences, but all of a sudden she's going to work, and she passes this van, and this van has, they call them the Children of the New Dawn, which is kind of like a hippie cult led by Jeremiah. I don't remember who played him. Linus Roche? Anyway, I thought he was pretty good. But anyway, he leads these people, and he's struck by her. Like, he passes her in the van, and he wants her. He wants the people, his cult, to kidnap this girl. So all of a sudden, these guys show up in a van out in the middle of the woods, and this guy blows this whistle, and all of a sudden they resurrect the Black Skulls, which is a demonic biker gang. And there's a bunch of them. Like, they each have names. Like, there's Scratch, there's Scabs, there's Fuck Pig, and Cheddar Goblin. And I think Fuck Pig is the one with the spike dick. He has like a spike dick. He's sitting on the couch watching this porno, and you can tell that he murdered the other people that were in this house by you know, like, having, you know, trying to fuck them in the ass. Like, this guy had his pants down, his butt showing, there's like holes in his butt cheek. Like, Fuck Pig was just going at it, you know. I mean, I love these names. I don't know, it's great. But you got, you know, you got the chemist, you got Brother Swan, you got Mother Marlene, you got Sis, you got Sister Lucy, Brother Hanker, Brother Lewis. You just got all these this cult member just has these simple names. But they summon these biker guys to come and basically, you know, help kidnap both Red and Mandy, which they do. And there's this really long trippy scene where the chemist basically injects some form of like liquid, which is like an LSD, they inject Mandy, and she starts seeing, like, you know, all of a sudden, you know, like this movie is visually different every single time. There's like a shade of red throughout the film, and then there's lens flares all over the place, and then it's a different color. When the LSD thing happens, like it's like you're seeing what she's seeing, like it's like an LSD. I thought that went on way too long. There's a part where she gets injected with that, and then Jeremiah comes out and he gets naked. He shows his dick, and he's like, "Oh, be gentle," and she starts going, "Ha ha ha ha," like this. That whole scene was way too long. I mean, honestly, I was like, okay, come on, let's get on with it. They could have cut some things short. It's slow burn. But if it doesn't grab my attention, then I don't think, you know, that's something just to make me not interested. But however, once something happens to Mandy and Nicolas Cage basically, you know, he's tied up and the gang leaves. They all leave after something happens to Mandy. He gets out and it becomes a revenge movie at that point. But revenge movie on steroids, because, you know, Nicolas Cage basically makes his own weapon. He molds it, this big, huge spear/axe. On one end is an axe, on the other end is a spear, and he molds that. It is fantastic. You know, he gets a crossbow. he has weapons, and he's gonna go hunt these people down. And the first thing he does is he goes after the demonic biker gang called the Black Skulls. He takes them out one by one. The effects were very, very good. I really like the effects. I like, you know, the gore and the fight scenes. Those were all done good. The creatures themselves looked pretty cool. You could tell, like, there's a lot of times they didn't show the full creature. I mean, they showed them, but they were like silhouettes a lot of time. Like, you know, there was like a shade of black on them. Like, there was no lighting. Like, they weren't standing out in bright lights or anything like that. I thought that was kind of cool to keep them kind of hidden a little bit. You could also do great effects when doing that. You can hide certain things that maybe doesn't look as good in the light. But anyway, the creatures looked awesome. I liked all the fights. My absolute favorite fight in this is when Nicolas Cage has a chainsaw and he fights this guy with a longer chainsaw. It reminds me of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, the chainsaw fight. This is a chainsaw fight on steroids. I loved it. You know, Nicolas Cage has this little one and this guy has this long one. All of a sudden it flips. Then Nicolas Cage gets the long one and this other guy has the little one. And they start fighting with chainsaws. That's hands down my favorite thing about this movie. So one by one, he starts to go after these guys. And as the movie's playing, you get this little animated, like this little animated cutscene that's implemented in these, you know, it's almost like a chapter break in a way. Like this animated thing with like Mandy, she's like naked. And it has to do with her artistic style, because that's exactly what she was into. I get all that. I get all of that stuff. But the thing is, like, I felt like the constant use of red, you know, tint with the visuals and the lens flares, I thought it was a little bit too much at times. It just kept on going and going, certain scenes. And there's scenes that I wanted to see, like visually, I wanted to see more than what was just seen there. I understand it's artistic. There's a lot of symbolism in this movie. I understand that. And again, I don't think they gave Mandy enough to do. I don't think they gave us enough to actually care about her. I mean, I understand he cared about her, but I didn't see a lot of relationship status there. I didn't see a lot going on with them to make me care about it. Now, when I said I liked Jeremiah, the main guy, I liked him for a lot of his dialogue, but I kind of felt like he was a lackluster villain, because at the end Nicolas Cage just basically does his thing with him like it was no problem. I kind of felt like there should have been more with that. You know, he just basically grabs him by the head and that was it. I mean, why couldn't Nicolas Cage defeat him anyway? Because of the fact that he defeated the biker gang. I mean, these demonic creatures, he should be able to defeat Jeremiah. I thought there should have been more with him. I would have liked to see more with him. But it's a very different kind of story. A lot of things going on with like hallucinations and like different worlds and, you know, demonic bikers. Just a lot of trippy scenes where you're just kind of like, what's going on here? But the ending of the movie really, it had kind of a twist to it. And I've kind of spoiled this a little bit, but I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to give away what actually happens. There's a little thing that has to do with like the landscape at the end of the film that I wasn't expecting. That was actually pretty cool. It actually shined some light on a little bit of what was going on. At the box office, this movie made $1.3 million. But this was an interesting film. I don't think it's one of the best movies of this year. I mean, it was good. I wouldn't say this movie was great. I wouldn't give this movie like, you know, like an A, or, you know, I wouldn't give this movie like a really, really high praise of one of the best movies ever made. It's definitely not. You know, it does have some, I guess you could say, minor nitpicks or problems that I didn't care for. And I also felt like, you know, some of the cult members were kind of just, they didn't really have nothing going on with them. I kind of felt like they were just there to die in certain ways, and you have that with these kind of films. I didn't really feel like there was anything going on with them or special about them that I didn't care. I cared more about the biker gang than I did about the hippie family. So I will give this movie the benefit of the doubt for its originality, creativeness, and, you know, just the story that they came up with and the characters. I will, you know, I'll give it that. There's really nothing like it. There really isn't. But that doesn't mean that it automatically makes it a great film. Like I said, I think it was good. That should be enough. You know, I'm not bashing the film. I'm just giving you my in-depth analysis and opinions on it. Yeah, I definitely think I would buy this if I can find it somewhere cheap. But anyway, yeah, I'm just being honest. If I had to rate this movie, you know, a lot of people are giving this movie like 9s and 10s and stuff like that. Like perfect scores almost. I would give this movie, I think this movie deserves at least a solid 8 for me. That's me. I think I would give this movie a solid 8 out of 10 for sure. Rotten Tomatoes, that holds an approval rating of 93% based on 176 reviews and an average rating of 7.6 out of 10. Metacritic, of course, 82 out of 100. Nicolas Cage was great. I really liked him in this movie. He was probably the one that carried the film. And like I said, Mandy, I was kind of disappointed in her character. I wasn't really into her at all. But yeah, I definitely say check this movie out. It was, you know, it got me interested. Like I said, the trailer wasn't making me jump out at it, but as I saw people's reviews and saw more of it, I started to get interested. So I'd say definitely check it out for sure. Anyway, thank you for watching this. Rob signing off. See you guys in the next one.